Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week, we're going to be talking about painting and staining a concrete patio. We'd like to thank Amanda Johnson for liking and sharing the podcast. Concrete patios became popular for homes in the U.S. after World War II, and patios were usually made out of brick or stone until the 1940s. By the 1950s, builders were adding concrete patios because of the demand for an outside area to entertain or grill. The Concrete Network says more homeowners are coloring concrete patios to improve the appearance, and the top colors are brown, tan, clay, gray, and charcoal.
Can you paint a concrete patio?
Yes, as long as you're using an exterior-rated paint formulated for concrete.
Do you have to prime it first?
Some companies recommend a bonding primer for their concrete paint, but some companies just recommend a thin first coat of the paint as a prime coat. So check the application instructions for the product you're using before you start your project.
Okay. What is a bonding primer?
This is a specialized primer that's formulated to bond to surfaces that are hard to cover, like concrete, glass, tile, and metal. For many paints, it creates a stronger bond to the concrete rather than paint alone. It's going to create a more uniform surface for the top coat, and it helps reduce peeling and flaking over time. Some top-rated exterior bonding primers for concrete are from Behr, Valspar, and Kills.
You're not going to spell any of them? You feeling okay?
So Behr, B-E-H-R, Valspar is V-A-L-S-P-A-R, and Kills, K-I-L-Z.
Thank you. How would you paint a concrete patio?
Some common recommendations for concrete paint are the concrete should be at least 30 days old before you paint it. The outside temperature while you're painting should be between 50 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and the temperature should stay above 50 degrees at night. There shouldn't be rain in the forecast for 24 to 48 hours. The surface should be dry, clean, and solid. Clean the surface well, remove loose or peeling paint, grease, oil, sealers, and wax. Rinse thoroughly and allow it to dry completely. A couple companies recommend using a power washer. Apply the paint with a polyester nylon brush and roller cover. Most companies recommended a 3/8 inch nap roller cover. The most common concrete paints are acrylic paint, so it cleans up with soap and water. Most companies recommended 2 coats of paint. One company recommended a 3rd coat if needed to cover imperfections. Most companies recommend 4 to 6 hours between coats and about 72 hours before exposing the surface to heavy foot traffic and furniture.
Okay.
Behr Paint says if your patio has a paint or sealer on it, use a paint stripper to remove the coating. Apply the stripper with a wide brush following the label instructions, and then after 1 to 4 hours, use a long-handled scraper to remove the old coating. Rinse well and allow the concrete to fully dry. You may also need a wire brush for stubborn areas.
Okay.
For uncoated concrete, apply a concrete cleaner and degreaser, then scrub the surface with a stiff bristle brush. And a brush that connects to a pole is going to make your job easier. Acid etching is recommended by some companies for their products. To etch with muriatic acid, you would cover the plants and objects next to the patio. Use 1 part muriatic acid to 10 parts water. And always add acid to water, never water to acid, because it can cause the acid to spray up and off the water. Muriatic acid can cause burns and eye damage. You need to wear skin and eye protection and rubber boots. The fumes are dangerous, so use a respirator with an acid gas cartridge to protect your respiratory system.
Okay.
Then rinse the surface thoroughly. Before you use the acid, lightly spray the concrete with water until it's damp, but you don't want any puddles. Use a watering can or acid-resistant pump sprayer to evenly spray the surface with the acid. Scrub the concrete with a stiff bristle brush on a long handle. The concrete is going to react to the acid by bubbling. After 5 minutes or so, neutralize the acid with baking soda or garden lime. One recommendation is to mix 4 cups of baking soda to 1 gallon of water. You're going to spread it over the surface to fully coat the acid. Scrub it lightly with a stiff bristle brush on a pole to ensure that the acid is neutralized.
Okay.
Rinse it thoroughly and allow the concrete to fully dry, which can take 1 to 2 days depending on the temperature and humidity. Sherwin-Williams doesn't recommend acid etching. They say it can be dangerous to work with acid and the results can be unpredictable and unreliable.
What is safer to use than acid?
There are some concrete etching products that create a rough surface for your paint or stain without muriatic acid.
Okay.
Some top-rated products are Rust-Oleum Clean and Etch for concrete and Valspar Fast Prep Ready-to-Use Solution. Some safer top-rated products are Echo Etch Pro Concrete Etch and Cleaner and Ghost Shield Echo Etch. And Glidden recommends using a non-slip paint for a concrete patio around a pool. They also recommend a paint that stays cooler for bare feet. They say that their cool surface technology can lower the temperature of concrete by about 20%.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. And there's a couple companies that have paint that doesn't get as hot.
Nice. What are some top-rated concrete paint companies?
Behr, Glidden, Valspar, and Kills.
Should the paint be applied thick or thin to the concrete patio?
In general, multiple thin coats are going to be better than a thick coat. You're going to get better adhesion, less cracking and peeling, and it dries faster. Thin coats will flex better with changes in temperature and be more durable, but follow the instructions for the product you're using.
So apply it like an asphalt coating. Thin coats are better than a thick one.
Right.
Can you stain a concrete patio?
Yes, and like concrete paint, you're looking for an exterior-rated stain formulated for concrete.
Okay. Are there different types of concrete stain?
The primary stains you can use for a concrete patio would be a solid color stain, a semi-transparent stain, and an acid stain. Most of the solid color and transparent stains for concrete are water-based, so they're pretty easy to work with. Spills and tools will clean up with soap and water. Solid color concrete stain is similar to a concrete paint. It creates a uniform coat over the concrete. It covers the texture of the concrete and small imperfections. You would put a clear sealer over the stain, which is going to help protect against foot traffic, furniture, chemicals, and weather, and use the recommended sealer for the best results.
Okay.
Semi-transparent stains allow the texture of the concrete to show through, and the color isn't going to be uniform. It creates light and dark areas, making it look stone-like. A semi-transparent stain is best for concrete that's in good condition and you want a decorative color. Water-based semi-transparent stains will penetrate into the top pores of the concrete, staining the concrete, rather than riding on top of the concrete like concrete paint or a solid color stain. But how well it stains or dyes the top of the concrete depends on the dye or stain used in the formula. You would put a sealer over a semi-transparent stain for more durability. An acid concrete stain chemically reacts with the minerals in the concrete to create a color that's bonded to the concrete, rather than just riding on the surface or staining the top layer. It creates a unique appearance with a blend of shades that look stone-like. The colors and shades will vary depending on the minerals in your concrete, which is pretty interesting. Acid stains are very durable and they won't peel or crack over time.
Okay. How would you apply a solid color stain?
Behr says to use a solid color stain over an existing coating, remove any loose or peeling paint, then sand the surface to rough it up. Clean the surface well, rinse it, and allow it to dry. And you can also completely strip the old coating with a paint stripper.
Okay.
Clean and etch any bare concrete, and use a bonding primer for the best adhesion. Apply a thin coat with a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch nylon polyester roller cover and a brush. Add a second coat after 2 to 4 hours, rolling in a different direction for more durability, which is a cool tip. And they recommend a sealer over the stain.
Okay. How do you apply a semi-transparent stain?
Bear says a semi-transparent stain should go over sound, uncoated, and unsealed concrete. Use a paint stripper if the concrete was coated. Clean the concrete well and etch the surface to achieve a texture similar to using 150 grit sandpaper. Allow the surface to dry, then test that the surface is porous enough to accept the stain.
How do you do that?
Cindy?
Yeah?
You would do the water drop test.
Hey, JC?
Yeah?
For those of us that don't remember how to do the water drop test, can you explain it?
So you would sprinkle a few drops of water on the surface. The water should be absorbed into the concrete within a minute. If not, the surface needs more prep.
Okay.
Bear recommends applying a semi-transparent stain in 4-foot by 4-foot sections with a high-quality pump sprayer. For a more uniform look, you can lightly roll each section with a 3/8 inch nap roller after spraying on the stain. You allow the first coat to dry, then add a second coat if needed. A second coat is usually going to darken the colors, accentuate the texture, and create a more stone-like finish. Then after 24 hours, cover it with a sealer.
Okay. How would you apply an acid-based stain?
I spoke to Eagle Products about working with an acid stain. They make acid stains, interior and exterior concrete dyes. They say the most important step is to prepare the surface. Acid stains work by a chemical reaction with the minerals in the concrete, so the surface needs to be uncoated and porous enough to accept water. If there is a coating on your patio, you need to strip it off. The patio should be over 30 days old. Don't use muriatic acid to clean or etch the concrete for acid stain. Muriatic acid will damage the minerals necessary to produce the color.
Interesting.
It's wild. Use a concrete cleaner and a degreaser using a firm bristle brush. Then check that the surface is porous enough to accept water using the water drop test. If you need to etch the surface, they recommend an etch that doesn't use muriatic acid, and they have an etching product that uses phosphoric acid to increase the porosity of the surface without damaging the minerals. After etching the surface, rinse it well. They suggest using a power washer. Mask off the surfaces around the patio to protect against overspray. Lightly dampen the concrete with clean water. Use an acid-resistant pump sprayer to apply the stain, maintaining a wet edge. Allow the stain to react with the concrete for at least 6 hours. If you want a darker color, apply a second coat. Acid concrete stain has to be neutralized. They have their own neutralizer, but check the recommended neutralizer for the acid stain that you're using. Some companies recommend a baking soda solution.
Okay.
Apply the neutralizer and scrub the surface with an acid brush. Rinse with water until the water is free of any color. Allow the concrete to dry, then wipe the surface with a white cloth. If you pick up any color, keep rinsing and checking until there's no color left on the cloth. Then cover the stain with a sealer. They recommend resealing every 2 to 3 years to protect the color and the concrete. And you can check out Eagle products at eaglesealer.com. That's EAGLESEALER.com.
What are some top-rated concrete stain companies?
Bear, Valspar, Eagle, and Glidden. And use their recommended sealer to protect the stain.
Okay. When I was doing research for this podcast, I came across the terms like concrete resurfacing and overlays.
Right.
What does it mean to resurface a concrete patio?
Resurfacing a concrete patio usually means covering the surface with a cement-based product to cover up pitting, chipping, and stains. You're creating a new top coat to improve the look of the patio.
Okay. What does concrete overlay mean?
It's another term for resurfacing. A stamped overlay creates the look of stone, brick, or wood by covering the patio with a resurfacing product, then pressing a concrete stamp onto that wet resurfacer, and that creates a decorative design.
What are some top-rated concrete cleaners?
Simple Green, OxySolve Total Outdoor Cleaner, OxyClean Outdoor Multi-Purpose Cleaner, and ZEP, that's ZEP, Heavy Duty Citrus Cleaner and Degreaser. but check the label for the cleaning recommendations for the product you're using.
Okay. How do you maintain a concrete patio after it's been painted?
To maintain concrete paint, routinely sweep or blow off dirt and debris. Use a hose end sprayer to rinse off dirt. Use a mild detergent mixed in a bucket of water and a soft bristle brush for stubborn dirt.
Okay. How do you maintain a concrete patio after it's been stained?
For stained concrete, you would follow the same steps as painted concrete, but then you're going to be resealing this every 2 to 3 years.
Okay. How often do you have to repaint or restain a concrete patio?
Depending on the foot traffic and what you're doing on your patio, paint and water-based stains will last 5 years or longer before you have to do any touch-up, generally.
Okay.
For an acid stain, the color should last for decades. The key with all stain, though, is to keep reapplying a sealer every few years. Use protective pads on furniture to protect the finish. Don't drag furniture or heavy objects over the patio. And use outdoor rugs and mats for high-traffic areas and under chairs that get moved a lot.
Okay. What are some top-rated concrete sealers?
Bear, Ghost Shield, Eagle, and Valspar. And if you're using a sealer not recommended by the manufacturer for the stain you're using, make sure it's compatible with the type of stain you've used. Some solvent-based sealers aren't recommended for an acrylic stain.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
We'd like to thank Eagle Products for helping us with some information for this episode. Using a concrete paint or stain on a concrete patio can improve the appearance and help protect the surface from wear. Make sure you're following all the preparation directions to get the best results. Wear protective gear and old clothes when you're staining with an acid, and protect vegetation around the patio when painting, staining, and sealing your concrete patio.
Cool. Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 19 on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fix It Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.